who are more than a little upset with you.
Well, I think they were upset with me. I think they have more of an understanding now about the disease and also about Arch Chalister that they didn't have before. And I can't say enough about the people that I've dealt with. They've been very good and been understanding, and the rapport has been excellent, and I would hope that that would continue, and that I can make a comeback and pay the people off that I owe, and be able to live a good, clean life without having any regrets and worries.
You were referring to the bookies, weren't you?
Sir?
Weren't you referring to the bookies when you asked him that question? People out there that were...
Bookies, yeah.
He passed over that.
No, I will not pay my illegal debts off.
Okay. You, after your press conference following your reinstatement, it was a very, very, I thought, nice picture in the paper of you and your mom walking away from that press conference. You must feel very good about the way your folks hung in there. This had to be rough.
Well, my folks have been with me through all the hard times and through all the good times. It's great to be able to have a family and never have anything wrong happen, but we've had some severe adversity in our family over the course of the years, with sickness, with finances, with problems that, gambling,
and problems that farmers have.
Sure.
That they can't anticipate. Or, yeah.
Yes, and it's been very difficult. My parents are two of the strongest people that I've ever met, and they've hung with me through it all, and I would say that last Friday, or 2 weeks ago Friday, was probably one of the highlights of my life, to be able to stand up there and knowing that I have made a certain amount of recovery, and they were with me the whole way.
How did you know he was snowing you, Gil, when he came to you?
Well, he'd been referred to me from other people, and I thought it was a simple cash flow problem based on the way that it had been explained, where there was money not available because he wasn't playing football under his contract because you get paid during the season. So I thought it was a gap in what he needed.
Was this during the strike?
No, this was before the strike.
Okay.
I felt that what he needed was after the strike, that what he had was some small cash flow business problem, and he needed to be exposed to some people in Columbus that could lend him money on his contract. But he came in such a hyperactive state, and
you could tell he was really.
He was. I used the expression wired for sound. I mean, he was walking around. He almost wore a hole in my rug, and after a period of time, I followed money around most of my life, and I couldn't follow the money he was talking about. It didn't make sense. He couldn't put the story together right. And he was at the point where he's about to crack up. And essentially what he did was come to me to borrow $75,000, which put me right into shock. So here I have sitting with me a young man that I have never really met, and who walked into my door, who was really an asset to the city of Columbus and to the state of Ohio.
What made him walk into your door? Was there a family connection?
Just people knew him, knew me.
Are you in Ohio State forever? No.
No, I'm just a guy that lives in Columbus who a lot of people know. And I'm a businessman, and as a result of that, I got referred by one quarterback father and another fellow who had run into Art, said he needs help, why don't you talk to him? But when he came to me and wanted $75,000, I was shocked, and we were able to pull out part of the story. So I brought Chuck Freiberger into the thing that afternoon. I called him and said, do you want to get involved? Because this is pretty serious. Of course, I didn't know how serious.
Right.
And your debt structure was underestimated. He owed almost $600,000 to the bookies that he didn't pay because he was so sick. They talk about this being a victimless crime. Bookies are okay. Well, these guys were taking money from him and his family at an extraordinary rate, and he was trying to bet with one to pay the other. Of course, they didn't know that. They were just taking the money from him. I don't think they were even passing it off. And as a result...
There was also lying about the spread, wasn't there?
Well...
or at least you would place a bet on an 8 spread when the line said 5. I mean, is that so? I'm asking.
Sure,
Didn't you have a waitress take you for some bucks, too?
Tried, but didn't. I had a run-in with that, but that gets into another...
All right, well, but I guess I'm just trying to look at we don't need the Polaroids here, but...
Well, see,
but I mean, if you're in this spot, you're vulnerable apparently to a lot of folks.
Well, when you owe money and when you're struggling and you're in debt, usually bet with your heart. You don't bet with your head, and you're not thinking. And I didn't have any choice when they would say the line's 5 or the spread's 8 when it really was 5. I couldn't have said when I liked a team that was given the 8 points. I couldn't say, you know, you're jerking me around. That's wrong. Because they would say, hey, we'll see you later. They wanted to say that, I think.
And you had a bigger reason to be scared. They owned you because of your...
Sure, I had more money involved in it than...
Well, not only that, you were vulnerable as a famous person. Any kind of...
At any time, they could turn me in.
Yeah. Robert Custer is here, M.D. He's a psychiatrist and medical advisor for the National Council on Compulsive Gambling. What is your briefest profile of the gambler? He's male, 35, is he? Younger? What? He's a go-go type, isn't he?
Well, very active, very energetic, doesn't tolerate boredom, always likes stimulating life. He's on the move a lot. He thinks clearly, fast, but likes the world of action. And they're usually around 35 years of age when they get into treatment. But they've run into difficulty by that time. Serious problems with the family, their job, or the community in some way. But certainly they do start earlier, and they do start in adolescence, as I do.
And you don't want to leave the impression that men are the only ones who gamble.
No, no.
We've done this program before, and we've had phone calls from housewives who are into the pools and on the phone all day long. All day long.
Yes, I think 20% of the compulsive gamblers are female.
Is the caller there?
Yes.
Sir.
Art, I went through an experience a few years ago in college, rather similar to yours. Not of the monetary nature yours was, but still it was a gambling problem, and I got myself into quite a bit of trouble. What I want to know is, personally, and I'm not nearly as visible as you, I mean, who is, how many people can get away with nobody knowing about a gambling problem they have for that long? People knew I had a problem. It just didn't surface until I got myself really, really deep into trouble.
Right. Mr. Schleister commenting.
Really don't. I didn't hear that.
How do you get away? How can you get $650,000 in debt and nobody who loves you know about it?
I've had that question asked to me before. I think that I was probably one of the greatest manipulators and also one of the best liars that you could possibly be. I moved money around and shifted it here and borrowed it here and lied and had more stories than you could imagine. And my parents were becoming to realize I had a problem. My personality had changed drastically. I was totally irritable and couldn't even carry on a conversation. I'd had some problems with it in college. My parents had threatened me. You know, they knew that I was gambling. They knew that at one time. They didn't know it in the last year. They had no clue I could hide it that well, and I could borrow the money that well, and I could make up the stories that would keep me going and keep me borrowing money. And I'd go from person to person, and was very good at it.
You remember when Woody Hayes punched the kid? Art Schleister threw the pass. I'm sure you spent more than a few moments speculating on if you hadn't thrown that pass. It was an interception.
Yes.
If you hadn't thrown that interception, Woody might still be there. I don't know if you care. Woody and you were what? Fair?
Oh,
in terms
Woody
of the relationship?
was superb to me.
He was?
Yes, he recruited me. He and a coach.
But you replaced the black quarterback who was a senior, and that didn't help.
Oh, I think that was a definite problem because I was from the start alienated from my teammates. And
it was a senior team. The whole team was.
Yeah. And Earl Bruce and you got along okay, but not...
Well, I think we had a little bit of difference in philosophies, but I think that most quarterbacks don't agree with their head coach as far as, you know, how many times you pass the ball and how many times you don't. I think Coach Bruce wanted to make sure when he first came in that I was just like any other player, and it was very difficult on me because I felt like I was not appreciated in a certain way, and I carried a certain amount of resentment for that.
We'll say again that in a few days, Art Schleister reports to the Indianapolis Colts franchise. There'll be more than a little excitement in good old Indianapolis. This is their first year of professional football, and more than a few folks are going to watch with interest that is inevitably going to create more pressure than most quarterbacks get, and they get quite a bit, on you. And we'll be back to give you a chance to chat with Mr. Schleister and friends in just a moment.
The first time ever I saw your face.
Keep the look he first fell in love with. Let Oil of Olay replenish the precious fluids that help your skin stay soft and young-looking. Discover how cool, light, and greaseless Oil of Olay feels. How much more radiant your skin can be.
Your face, your face.
Oil of Olay. It can help keep you looking younger, too.
When I think how much smarter we are today about what we eat, the foods my kids are growing up on, I love it. Leaner, less fat, good changes. Like Louis Rich cold cuts, up to 95% fat-free, because they're made with turkey. Why not? It's the naturally lean meat. Louis Rich has done it. A whole line of great-tasting, lean cold cuts. What a good idea for today.
Louis Rich has what you want today.
Meet the news people. Debbie Severs grew up in the Piedmont. She knows the people, the places, and the weather.
I want people to know they can depend on me for accurate forecasts they can understand. And I really enjoy helping kids understand the weather.
We have a surprise.
Oh, you do? What is it? Oh, how nice.
You are
Piedmont people and the Piedmont's news people together every night on News Center 12.
Not only playing Russian roulette with his life, but with your life also.
Right side, as they said, Williams in motion. Off the fake, on a roll. Schleister trying to get a block. Keeping and into the corner of the end zone for the touchdown.
There's young Art,
who goes into the
Buckeye scoring
the patch of ice and
himself.
there.
Incidentally, he set all kinds of yardage records for Ohio State. Not an easy thing to do with this most exceptional Big Ten football tradition. Are you there? Hi.
Yes, hi.
Go ahead.
My son is 19 years old, and he has been a addicted gambler. This is all very new. We are just in the throes of this right now.
On what does he bet, and how do you know? We don't have a lot of time, so
Okay, he bets on the races, and I know because he's gotten involved in stealing and, you know, criminal charges have been placed against him.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, he is convinced that his gambling's over. With the help of a psychiatrist and Gamblers Anonymous, you know, I'm just totally baffled.
Yeah.
What can I do?
Yeah, I got some free advice for you. Let's get Dr. Custer.
Oh, I think the first thing that you must do is you must get him into Gamblers Anonymous. He feels he's got the problem under control. Let him talk to some experts and let him prove to them that he has it under control. But it isn't at all unusual that they feel they have it under control, because you have to remember they want to continue gambling. And that's what he wants to do, even though he's been hurt by it now. I think one other thing that's very important for you to do is to go to Gam-Anon, which is for the families of compulsive gamblers. Very important that you don't start breaking down communication with your son. Important that you do the right things and don't make many of the mistakes that parents do.
Did you want to say anything? It's not been that long ago. How old are you now? 24?
24.
So,
well, I would just say that usually when a person abruptly quits, it's just like cold turkey with alcoholism or drug addiction, and it's usually short-lived. So I would be very aware of what's going on, and try to get him as much treatment as quickly as possible, as Dr. Custer suggested.
You quit on occasion, didn't you?
Sure, I quit.
Like drinkers, you quit?
My parents asked me to quit one time, and I went for, no, I think it was right before my professional career started, after I'd gotten drafted, and I quit for about 3 months, and probably was the worst 3 months that I ever felt, because I was torn between it, and I wasn't able to understand it. I didn't go to GA. I didn't have any treatment. I just flat out quit, and I didn't really know why I quit.
How much money do you think your son may have lost, if any? Do you know?
$20,000.
How do you know that? He told you?
He went through my passbooks.
What do you mean?
Went through her money.
Your checkbooks?
Savings account books.
Oh, savings account. How did he get
He
the money?
also wrote bad checks, and I started paying off the bad checks, you know, to keep him from felony charges and all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, here are some folks who know this thing more than they ever wanted to. Certainly Art's in that category. And they're saying you can't do this alone. That your son can't do this alone. And that...
Well, you know what I'm having a real problem with now is he's still lying to me.
Of course he is, and he will continue. But the one thing that you can do is you can go to get treatment. Go to Gam-Anon to understand how to manage him better. He may have to hurt a little more and get into a little more difficulty before he goes for help. But it sounds like that isn't too far away. But you cannot drag him to a Gam-Anon meeting or a Gamblers Anonymous meeting. He must want to go.
I appreciate
And how do you get him to want to go?
By you putting the pressure on and finding out from Gam-Anon how you best approach it to put the pressure on. They're experts at it.
I think that one thing to consider is that what you're giving him is a bailout, and if you can continue to give him that bailout, he will continue to keep making the same mistake over and over again. And I know that I'm speaking from experience on that. And once you stop with the bailout, then he will see the light, and even if he gets into a little trouble, it may help him.
Yeah, but she's afraid failing to bail out, he'll steal.
You know what's difficult, though, Art? I just heard you say, well, you're glad that your parents always gave you the support. You know, and how can you continue to give support and, you know...
That was easy for Art to say. It's shocking.
Well, I think he also meant not... He was talking about money support. He's talking about emotional and...
yes.
Yeah, but they weren't
I'm
qualified.
willing to give him all the emotional support that he needs now.
Right.
But I need some things, too, and the one thing is this lying business. I can't handle it. I get totally irrational.
Yeah. That's pretty normal. I mean, I just went through this, so it's shocking for me to even hear someone like this. To think that she has to go through this. You better get him help, and you don't need to tell him he's a good kid. You need to do what you can to get him medical help, because it's incredible what's going to happen if you don't.
I'm really sorry to have to interrupt. I appreciate your call. If you want to call the office, we'll be happy to take your number. And hang on just a minute, will you?
Okay.
All right. We'll be back in just a moment.
Creative Fashions, a professional and complete bridal service. From wedding gowns to wedding cakes, our time and expertise is yours. Creative Fashions, because we make your dreams come true.
We're about to make these other salad guys green with envy. Announcing the creation of Taco Bell's new taco salad. Sure, we start with garden fresh vegetables.
Oh, yeah?
Seasoned ground beef.
Oh, yeah?
Served in a light flaky flour bowl you can eat.
Eat the bowl? Oh, no.
So try our new taco salad, the envy of all those other guys.
Taco Bell, it's just made for you.
Sargent's invites you to put yourself in your cat's place. Suppose you had the fleas, the itching, the scratching. You'd want relief fast. You'd want your cat to give you Sargent's flea and tick collar. Sargent's has 2 ingredients. It's the only flea collar that works both like a powder and a spray. And Sargent's keeps working for 5 full months. Give your kitty the cat's meow. Sargent's flea and tick collar. She'd do it for you.
I'm Jerome Schulman. I'm 71 years old. 2 years ago, I developed a wonderful product called Shane toothpaste. Now, thousands of people all over the country are using Shane. Here's what some of them say. Shane is fantastic. Shane is terrific. Shane is wonderful. I'd like to have you try Shane. If it isn't the finest toothpaste you've ever used, send me back the empty tube with a receipt, and I will give you a full refund.
The Michigan game. That is Earl Bruce, the man who succeeded Woody Hayes, and this was one of Art Schleister's moments in sun. This is a man who broke all the records at Ohio State. No small achievement when you consider that Archie Griffin and others were the record holders prior to his arrival. And this is the man about whom you've read so much, having worked himself into gambling debts exceeding $500,000. What did you want to say?
I just felt badly for the lady who called because it wasn't as if Art's parents were easy to get along with during this time. She's doing the right thing. Her reactions are natural, and she needs to know that. I mean, she don't want to
get angry. I mean, if somebody continues to lie to you, I mean, it must be enraging.
It's not as if Max and Milo sat there and said, gee, this is okay.
But get some help from people who are lying to you. There's ways of handling it.
Yeah.
Art, you said earlier that you were still addicted. I'd like you to elaborate on that. And secondly, how do you not pay bookies?
Well, it's very easy to not pay them now that you have help to not pay them.
Well, she means without consequence.
Well, I don't think the people I dealt with were bookies. I think they were more or less con artists for the most part, and they completely drained me of everything I have. So it's very difficult to once you have borrowed to your limit, and also you've given every dime you have, plus every dime you could find. There's just no way to pay.
You signed with the Colts for $150,000 and a $350,000 bonus, and that went, did it?
Yes.
All of it.
All of it. I want to answer that the first part of that question. I'm a compulsive gambler, and I will always be a compulsive gambler. I always will have that disease inside of me, and that disease is only one bet away. And as long as I'm away from that one bet, as long as I can treat myself and stay away from that one bet, I will be a recovering compulsive gambler. But when I cross that line again, I have a greater possibility of getting into the disease even worse than I was before.
We have asked some folks who have experienced this problem to be with us, and I have your permission to say that. You've seen this movie.
Yes, we have.
What do you want to add, if anything, here? Any questions, or are you free?
Sure.
You are. I mean, are you free of the? You're not losing your shirt anymore, is that?
No, I've also suffered compulsive gambling, and it is a sickness. And boy, Art is right when he says that. I did things that were so beyond belief. Coach Lombardi was dying of leukemia, and they had hourly broadcasts on how his condition was, and I had a 3-hour section of the clock and when he was going to die.
Money on it?
Money on it. I gambled.
With odds?
No, just a section of the clock. You do sick things, you do things that you can't possibly control. It's a disease, it's an illness, and I'm fortunate that for the last 10 years I've been able to abstain from compulsive gambling or any gambling.
I'm also a compulsive gambler, and I've been in the program 15 years, and I haven't made a bet for 15 years. The question I'd like to ask Dr. Custard is, how many states or how many local or how many federal agencies are now trying to pass laws to inform the public that compulsive gambling is a disease similar to alcoholism.
We have 5 states that have now passed laws to provide funds for the treatment of compulsive gamblers. That's Maryland, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, and Minnesota. There are about another 5 or 6 that have bills in action, and I think probably will pass them. The federal government's involved primarily with the Veterans Administration.
And we'll be back in a moment.
Sometimes laxatives can catch you off guard when you least expect it, but Doxadan is different. It works gently, overnight, usually without a sense of urgency. Each capsule contains 2 medicines, one an excellent laxative, the other an effective softening ingredient. Together, they help relieve constipation and the discomfort that may accompany it. So why let a laxative take you by surprise when you can take Doxadan? Doxadan, no surprises, just gentle relief.
It seems like every time I turn on the TV, an AT&T commercial tells me to relax. I'm relaxed. I use MCI, the nation's long-distance phone company. I can call any other state from coast to coast and save money on every call. So you can relax and pay more to AT&T. Or get MCI and relax something else. Your pocketbook.
Call MCI now. Join Burt Lancaster and nearly 2 million others saving up to 30, 40, even 50% on their out-of-state calls.
I just don't understand this. What's that? My grocery bill. Look, I shop the weekly specials and save on them, but everything else I buy costs so much. Forget the weekly specials. I shop Food Line. See? With their low prices, my total food bill's lower.
Weekly specials from other supermarkets may save a few cents on a few items, but you pay more for everything else. At Food Line, we sell 6,800 items for less. That means a lower food bill without weekly specials.
Meet the news people.
Forsyth Humane Society is pleased to welcome Rick Amey.
Hey, John. Hey, Rick. I really enjoy the coverage you've been doing on the Hunt Town Senate race. You ought to do more of that. I certainly appreciate it.
For 9 years, Rick Amey has been bringing you the news through the eyes of a highly skilled reporter.
Mebit, I'd like to talk to you about some of the animals you have.
Piedmont People and the Piedmont's News People together every night on News Center 12.
Read to me, Daddy. Please help me with my homework.
Hey, Dad, I really need some help with this math.
Help me.
1 out of every 5 North Carolinians can't help their children with their homework because they lack a basic education. For the last 20 years, North Carolina's community college system has been making the difference for these adults. Classes are free and are offered at many locations across the state. Call your local institution for more details. North Carolina's community college system is making the difference for you, for me.
This is Art Schleister, having just been told or informed that he has been reinstated by the NFL. Are you there? Hi.
Yes. During Art's year of recovery and suspension from football, there were some reports in the Chicago papers that he indeed fell off the recovery program and had been seen at some tracks and was using an alias with the bookie.
There were those reports.
Was there any truth to that?
Yeah.
And just how hard was this early recovery process?
Well, there was no truth to that, number one, and I think he can, Dr. Custer.
One thing that you can count on is I would think that within the next week there are going to be 25 reports of Art gambling and gambling here in Chicago.
What is it about Chicago?
No, I mean, since we're in Chicago and they know we're in Chicago, but it's just the idea that it's typical, particularly with somebody that's prominent, that somebody's going to say he must be gambling.
Well, but we do have this is a little hard idea to sell at this time in our national life, but we do have a reasonably responsible press that is not about to report something that isn't true. This is not to say that Art has fallen off the wagon. It is rather to say that we still have checks and balances, some very powerful ones called lawsuits, to ensure that somebody doesn't publish something.
Who needs a lawsuit? We had enough problems without lawsuits.
I'm talking about the press. I'm saying it's not likely to get into a major newspaper if it isn't true.
You believe that?
But I don't
I'm saying that if it can't be confirmed, I don't want to appear to be arguing that you know, I believe him when he says he hasn't fallen off the wagon. If there's anything that this man conveys, it's the fact that he really has developed into a very honest human being as a result of what, incidentally, we should have established that you spent a month in a hospital.
He spent a year not talking to the press, too. In Columbus, Ohio, he talked to the press not at all because of a lot of reasons. Yeah. And obviously, that's no way to get along well with the press.
I assume, is there something in it for the bookie to smear him? I'm sure there's still...
I'm sure it is, and I think there are a lot of others for jealous reasons would like to do that. Some like to pull down their heroes, I think. But all I'm really saying, Phil, is if there is a charge with it, substantiate it. Just come out with facts. And that's all I think that we're concerned with. It's the unsubstantiated ones.
I know people that I would categorize as compulsive gamblers, betting 4 or 5 baseball games a day, but they would never bet what they couldn't cover. Can you remember the first bet that you made where you didn't know where the money was going to come from to pay for it if you lost?
I can't remember the last bet I made when I could remember where the money was coming from, because I went for so long with chasing money and moving money. I can't honestly remember the last time I made a bet knowing I had money to pay for it.
So you spent most of your gambling life betting with money that you didn't have?
Well, the last 6 months was so intense with just being involved in the disease itself. I didn't recognize anything else going on around me, and I had blown all my money. So I spent the whole time manipulating people to try to find money. And I would bet hoping I wouldn't have to go out and find money, feeling that I could win. And that went until the end, that type of an attitude.
Isn't it true, doctor, that most people who are addicted to any kind of thing, drug abuse, whatever, alcohol, they really have to be in the gutter, to say, before they begin to raise themselves up out of it?
Yes, I think they really have to be hurting so badly that that pain, environmental pain, doesn't relieve the psychological pain of drugs, alcohol, or gambling.
Do you think this problem is prevalent in the NFL, gambling similar to drugs?
Is it similar to drugs? I think it's similar to drugs. I don't think it's as prevalent as drugs in the NFL. I'm sure that it's there, but I don't think that it's as prevalent as drugs.
I think what you have to remember is that it's probably not much in the NFL, because they either get into gambling so much before they go into the NFL they don't make the team, or they will do it after they've completed their career. But you cannot play and be a compulsive gambler and have your mind, which is the way Art was. He played 1 year for Baltimore without his mind, because it was always on gambling.
And he was 17 for 37 passing.
And for that, you
had to bring that
you'll
up.
pick them up you'll pick them up very quickly if they can't, because they can't function and gamble, just as they can't without alcohol and drugs.
And we'll be back in a moment.
Dancing in Basic Lee jeans from Ivy's. Ivy's junior girls love Basic Lee jeans, just $15.99. Guys, back to school with Basic Lee jeans, just $14.99 at Ivy's. Move them, play in them, look great in them. Basic Lee jeans from Ivy's. Get them.
What's the difference in Florida Gold orange juice?
100% Valencia.
Nature's sweetest juice orange.
100% Valencia.
The difference is,
100% Valencia.
of all the oranges, the Valencia is nature's sweetest. And of all the orange juices, Florida Gold is 100% pure Valencia. For the taste that's
Naturally sweet. It's Florida Gold. Florida Gold.
Try our new Go Packs.
I'm Priscilla Presley, and when I thirst for color, I quench it. When I thirst for moisture, I quench it. If your lips thirst for attention, quench them with Quencher lipstick. So rich with moisturizers, so drenched with color, your lips will shimmer. If your lips thirst for attention, quench them with Quencher.
For loads of fun and the kind of laughs you're going to love this summer, it's the Madcap Adventures of Laverne and Shirley. Don't miss it. Weekday mornings at 10:30 here on WXII-TV 12.
The National Council on Compulsive Gambling is at 265th Avenue, New York City. The zip is 10001. Looks like goalposts there between all those zeros. The area code is 212-686-6160. I'll be happy to give you that address again. This is a disease which has ended marriages and lives. And give us some, what are some of the signs of this difficulty?
I think the real classical thing to remember about the compulsive gambler as it progresses is they really start losing their frontal lobes. They can't think, they lose their attention span, their vision, their hearing, everything diminishes until they cannot function well as a human being because they're only thinking about gambling.
Okay, this is just for Art. I wanted to say that I'm a die-hard Ohio State fan, and there are millions of people rooting for you, and we're looking forward to seeing you again playing some football out there on the field.
I'm sure he's glad you won.
Are you there? Hi.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have a question for the doctor. Do you necessarily have to be a loser in order to be considered a compulsive gambler or necessarily have a problem with it? I've been gambling for probably 25 years, and I consistently win money, yet I think it's still disrupting my life.
You do.
That guy's number.
Excuse me. You're winning and you're not happy.
Well, I'm happy, but it's come to the point where I win more money at gambling than I do in my job, and as a result, it disrupts my life. And I'm wondering, you know, I mean, I'm kind of out of the unusual. Everybody says, well, that's no problem.
Are you married?
Yeah.
Does she know?
Oh, yeah.
He'll be on this show next. He's one in a million.
You believe his number? Why? What is the point? You don't believe him?
I don't believe him.
They don't believe you. They think you lose.
Well, they ought to see my bank account.
No, I don't.
But what then? Excuse me. But then, why are you? What's troubling you then?
Well,
leading two lives.
Sort of. Maybe I'm not trouble. I just wondered.
All right. Are you free not to gamble?
Pardon me?
Are you free not to gamble?
I want to.
You could. You think you could not gamble if you chose to?
I don't know. I've never done it.
All right. Briefly on that.
I've never. I think that I would speak with it for a lot of people in the group therapy that I've never met a winner that's getting therapy for gambling, but maybe, you know, he may need help. I don't know.
I'll give you a chance.
The Green Giant brings you the freshness of stir-fry. Green Giant stir-fry entrees, complete with shrimp, chicken, or beef. Meals that taste fresh cooked, because unlike other frozen entrees, you stir-fry them yourself in minutes. Only stir-frying brings you this crisp, fresh cooked taste. And only the Giant brings you stir-fry frozen entrees. Ho, ho, ho.
Green Giant.
Hi, I'm James Arness. And if you're between the ages of 45 and 74, could I ask you a very important question? Have you ever stopped to think of the financial hardships that could result from your death or the death of your spouse? No one wants their death to create a financial burden on their loved ones. And yet, it nearly always does. Most folks know that they need more life insurance, but feel they just can't afford it. Well, Academy Life's Family Security Life Plan now makes it easier than ever for anyone who's 45 to 74 to get the extra protection they need for only $5 a month. You see, this plan combines term life insurance with accidental death coverage to provide big dollar benefits at rates nearly everyone can afford. For example, a 45-year-old can buy over $41,000 of initial insurance protection for only 67 cents a day. But price isn't the only way they've made it easy. Right now, you'll receive your first 2 months of coverage at no cost to you. That's right. Your first 2 months at no cost. See what I mean when I say they've made it easy? Big dollar benefits, affordable rates, and no cost for the first 2 months. Honestly, with Academy making it so easy, is there any reason why you shouldn't give your family the security they deserve? This free information kit will only take you a few minutes to read. But what a difference it could make in your family's future. Here's how to get it.
Call toll-free 1-800-228-1200. That's 1-800-228-1200. The information kit that Mr. Arness spoke of will be mailed to you free with no obligation. That's 1-800-228-1200. That's 1-800-228-1200. This is a free call.
National Council on Compulsive Gambling, 260 Fifth Avenue, New York City, 10001. Many thanks to Art Schleister for a very important contribution to a dialogue that should continue. We have too many people afflicted with this, and good luck this season. Congratulations to Ron Weiner, our director, who won the Emmy for Best Director. And
services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
I'm talking about him.
This Volvo Turbo has all the features you'd expect from a performance car, and one you don't. Up to 76 cubic feet of luggage space.
Give your home a look of elegance with the rich no-sheen finish of True Test Satin Hue Flat Latex, available exclusively at participating True Value hardware stores.
If you love Food Line's low food prices, why not help us tell your friends and neighbors? You could win $5, $10, $20, even $1,000 in groceries from Food Line. Just pick up this bumper sticker at any Food Line store and place it on your car. Then fill out an entry form. Each week, someone will win $1,000 in groceries. Just help us advertise our low prices. You could be one of hundreds of people who drive off with thousands of dollars in groceries from Food Line each week.
Lighten up, take a bite, so soft and creamy, it's so dreamy. Three Musketeers, every bite fluffy and yummy, a chocolate cloud so smooth and light, a most chocolate bite full, delicious, delightful, fluff.